A Japanese teenager got fatally injured while trying to protect some girls from an armed robber. He wakes up to find himself reincarnated in a fantasy world as Cain von Silford, 3-year-old son of a noble family with his memories intact. He meets his father Garm, mother Sarah, maid Sylvia, and older sister Rain. He also meets Garm's first wife, Maria, and much older half-brothers Jin and Alec. Due to his sudden increase in intelligence, he is allowed to study and begins using magic in secret. Rain tutors him on many subjects. He maintained his past life, so his family sees him as a genius. At the age of 5, he undergoes mandatory ritual baptism. The gods give them all their blessings and max out all stats. During his baptism, all gods inform him since he died performing a good deed, he will receive blessings from all of them. Cain realizes with their blessings he has instantly become the strongest, smartest, most skilled human alive. His family are thrilled, but worried governments may see him as a threat, so Cain keeps his powers hidden. At his baptism party, Cain decides to become an adventurer so he can travel the world helping people. In secret, the gods reveal they need Cain to become the strongest living creature by his 16th birthday to prevent a great evil. Garm hires Cain 2D rank adventurers as tutors, swordswoman Millie and elven magician Nina. They struggle to teach him as Cain has level 10 blessings from the gods of war and magic and is superior in skill to the level 3 Millie and Nina already. As he is only lacking in practical experience, they take him to the wilderness where he easily hunts his first monsters and immediately masters every new spell Nina shows him. Cain finds hunting just a few monsters catapults him straight to skill level 8, as one of his blessings gives him 100 times more experience points than normal. While getting permission from guild receptionist Rudy for Cain to hunt stronger monsters, C-rank adventurer Cross mocks them for their babysitting quest, so Cain beats him up. 3 years later, Cain is 8 and Nina and Millie's employment contract expires, so Cain hunts dangerous monsters to craft them valuable thank you gifts, his flashy magic causing a panic in the city. Millie and Nina are touched by the gifts, magic bags that mimic Cain's item storage skill, which are both useful and valuable. Later, Garm thoroughly lectures Cain for scaring the citizens. 2 years later, Cain is 10 and a seasoned adventurer. As a noble, he is sent to the royal capital for his debut into society. On the way, he kills monsters, attacking a carriage carrying Duke Eric's daughter Lady Silk and royal princess Telestia, who both develop crushes on Cain. As they are also on their way to debut, they insist Cain share their carriage. Stopping for the night, the girls overrule Garm's objections and force Cain to sleep in their room every night for the week-long journey. Cain is so on edge he doesn't sleep all week. Reaching the capital, Cain is able to return Telestia's dead soldiers, earning gratitude from Vice Captain Diam. Telestia's father King Rex rewards Cain with 10 platinum coins, a mansion, and promotes him to Baron despite the objections of some nobles, particularly Marquis Corgino. In private, Rex and Eric insist Cain become engaged to both Telestia and Silk. Having shared bedrooms, Cain is now the only man they can marry without scandal. Pressured from all sides, Cain agrees to the engagements. With the formalities over, Rex, Eric, and even Garm are able to freely lecture Cain for his scandalous, outrageous behavior, and continue the early stages of his life. With that in mind, he wants to consult them about his stats. Xenom admits that his current numbers are inhuman, which makes him more worried. The head god states that his life experience has yet to catch up to his current skills. Even with that said, in his current state, he's likely the most powerful human in the world. He even offers Cain the option to become a demigod. This would put him in the same class as holy beasts and divine dragons. However, he warns him that in his current state there are limits to what he can do alone, so he shouldn't test those limits. Xenom changes the topic of discussion to a lighter note as he points out that there isn't much entertainment in their realm, so he suggests that he uses his knowledge from his previous life to create something. This gets Cain thinking that maybe if he could introduce items that don't exist in his current world, they would likely become popular. Xenom agrees with his thoughts as he can read them, which startles Cain a little. The merchant god joins to ask if he can do it. Cain later returns to the world and is forced to accompany his mother and sister while they shop for clothes, but he's not comfortable in the shop, so he escapes his Parma outside and rushes over to say hello to her. He tells her that he's in the capital for his debut ceremony. She informs him that she's under training in her uncle's shop. Hermione's comes out and comments on how responsible Kane looks, and his niece informs him of Kane's nobility, which causes him to apologize immediately for his casual address. He doesn't take it as an issue at all, but he does want to take a look at the shop. After his inspection, he comments on the variety of goods that the shop produces. Kane believes that Hermione's is capable of executing his idea, so he tells him of the recreational item he'd like to make. Kane wants to know if he would be willing to produce and sell it. He draws it out and explains the details for him to see. The merchant comments on its entertaining yet simple concept to monkeys, believes that he could make it at a very affordable price. He is eager to get started on the production biscuits. Kane excited, but he wants a prototype of it first. The guy leaves him with a gold coin to cover the expenses. Hermione's gets up a little shy, as it is too much for the task that he has set. Kane puts him at ease, explaining that he should think about it as an upfront investment. When put in that context, he gratefully accepts. He promises, as head of his company, that he will give his all to the project. Kane leaves the shop happy, but his mood quickly changes when he sees his sister a little upset that he didn't stay to comment on her dresses. She begins to complain, but he gives her a compliment that melts her anger away. She doesn't let him off the hook, as she tells him that when they get home he's going to comment on each outfit. That evening he sits there as she tries on different outfits, and he gives glowing feedback, making her happy. At a later date, the maid informs him that Hermione's requests his presence at the shop. He quickly makes his way there and is amazed by the quality of the work and impressed with the turnover time. The craftsman points out that it still needs some refining, but he made it his top priority to finish. Kane informs him that the reversi game is exactly how he pictured it in his head. The boy suggests they have a little game to test it. He plays again with Parma while explaining the rules in real time to them. Hermione's get excited because he is certain that the game will catch on. Kane feels a little guilty taking the credit since it's a classic game from his previous life. Parma comments on how fun it was to play and wants to have another game with such positive feedback. He would like to produce a regular version and a separate one for nobles. He is sure that the upper class would want a fancier looking product, but he wants the regular version to be something anyone can afford. Kane green lights 50 noble versions and 1,000 regular versions for manufacturing. They can draft a contract to produce more as needed, which would be determined by sales. Hermione's notes that his company doesn't have surplus funds, so Kane happily provides him with a bag, which surprises him with such confidence placed in him. He promises to do his utmost best. Again, Kane feels a little uncomfortable with the bow, so he pleads for him to stop as it is only an upfront investment. Hermione suggests they draw up a contract and present it to the god of commerce. They take their sample to the altar and swear to the deity that they will each uphold their end of the contract. It gets accepted as advantages. This means that no one will be able to produce the same product for 3 years. Talk about a cool fantasy patent system. Wants them to strive to start selling the product in the next month. He adds that he would like Hermione's to prepare a more extravagant one, which will be given to the royal household. This takes the craftsman by surprise because he's only a mid-scale company, so for him to be given such an opportunity is unprecedented. Kane is confident that he can produce one that impress the king. He promises to fulfill that request. Parma that the gods are enjoying it in their realm. As he speaks, he makes his way home after his meeting, where he's informed that the debut ceremony is about to begin. He rushes to get ready and leaves with his parents. His father makes it known to him that since he became a baron at the last audience with the king, a lot of eyes are going to be on him during this event. He warns him to watch out for the other parents who will try to introduce their daughters to him. He acknowledges the advice and promises to deal with it appropriately. Even his dad is surprised by his mature response. They arrive at debut and Kane locks eyes with Corgino, who gives him a hostile look. He notices Corgino's son, who is followers the same age as him. As he proceeds forward, he's called by the Duke, who formally introduces himself and his daughter, Miss Silk. The guy begins to rise her up to the point that the Duke has to interrupt. The king's father explains his son's dangerous ability, and he kind of gets away with it. They excuse themselves just as the royal family make their appearance. The king gives a speech to inspire the next generation of elites and ends it with a posh toast. Everyone then lines up to give their greetings to the king and his family. When it's Kane's turn, he introduces himself perfectly and compliments to lecture to the point that she gets flushed, causing the king to pull him up on his silver tongue. He just got the royal city boy seal of approval. Kane turns his attention to the king and presents the reversi game that he developed in cooperation with the Sarah King Company. The king is interested, so he invites him for a private audience later where he can explain the game and they can discuss his treatment of the princess. His dad wasn't aware of his game development Project Cain explains that since he has been promoted to Baron, he was afraid that he might not have enough money to maintain the mansion, so he had to find other sources. His father understands his points with the important part: complete. His parents leave early to tend to some rounds. They encourage Cain to interact with some of the children his age so that he can feel like a normal kid for once his thoughts are interrupted. When Silk comes over to talk to him while they wait for Telestra, they take a seat and begin small talk, but Cain feels more comfortable with her dropping the master prefix. When calling his name, she begins to tease him, which makes him a little nervous. Habit comes along with his friends and interrupts them. He greets Silk and gives her a compliment, expecting for her to reciprocate, but she just gets up and politely gives the lady down to greet him. One of Habit's lackeys demands that it can give his boss some respect by allowing him to sit with Silk without interruption. Since he's the eldest son of Giorgino, Cain gets up and greets him before introducing himself as a baron, but the boy is misinterpreted as in telling them that his father is a baron, which is a lower rank than their father's, so they begin to look down on him. Since he didn't give his last name, they speculate that he must be very low rank, so Habit orders him to apologize for his rudeness, or he will unleash his boys on him. His way of addressing Cain offends Silk, so she tries to defend, but Cain interrupts her, stating that it is Habit who will apologize first. He takes it as fighting talk and asks him if he wants to catch these hands. Outside, Silk sees that the situation is escalating and behaves like the damsel in distress despite Cain telling her that she didn't need to come. Their flirting starts to make Habit a little jealous, so he shouts for them to cut it out. When he's speaking, he reveals that his two followers have the god's protection and can use magic. The first guy steps up and does the strangest pre-performance routine I have ever seen. After all that drama, he releases a fireball spell that is so pathetic that even a toddler could dodge it. The other guy does the same, but fires a rock bullet spell, which is equally as sad. As they prepare to attack again, Silk stops them and tells the trio that Cain is not the son of a baron, but is rather a baron himself. She reveals that he's the third son of Garm, and he is the one who saved the princess and herself from an army of 30 orcs single-handedly. The trio step back in shock because they heard about their age-made achievements. She orders them to bow since he outranks them significantly. They plead for forgiveness for their embarrassing stupidity and excuse themselves. Silk finds the whole situation amusing. She confronts Cain about it, knowing that they were mistaken, but still let them act out so that the reveal would be all the sweeter. She comments that he has a dark side and promises to tell Telestra about it. He pleads for her not to, so she promises not to say a word as long as he goes on a date with her. The princess overhears them talking about keeping the incident a secret and wants to know what happened. Cain holds Silk's mouth shut, which is seen as scandalous since they are not married. She uses this as leverage to find out the truth by threatening to tell her father. Silk just reveals that they were planning on going on a date. This makes Celestia jealous, so Cain says that they can go as a trio to make her happy. The king interrupts and summons him for their meeting. While they play the game, the king enjoys it to the point that he wants to make it exclusive to Cain, not to let it slip out that he's to marry the princess and the duke's daughter. He feels the pressure as they both stand over him. Cain being summoned to the place where Magna officially hands him over the key and map to his new mansion that comes with his baron title. Beyond, Cain excitedly thanks him as the old man explains that the king's absence is because he had a meeting with someone. The monarch still wanted to meet him to play a game of reversey, but the Magna held him back and managed to convince him to tend to his first duty. Cain is a little relieved to hear this, as it means that he will be able to go home earlier. However, his plan to have a quiet one is ruined. Duke Eric interrupts their meeting to challenge him to a game of reversey. Given his position, Cain can't deny his request. This opens Pandora's box as Magna and other nobles express their willingness to play him after the Duke. After entertaining everyone, he follows the map and arrives at his new home and discovers it in a decrepit state, which he finds a bit disappointing. From the outside, all the windows are broken. Plants have even conquered the main gate and other parts. As he approaches the front door, he hopes that nothing pops up to attack him. Cain excuses himself before entering. The place is dusty and the lights are not functioning. He assumes that the magic stones are depleted, so he uses a light bulb to illuminate the place while he continues with his inspection, and is impressed by the size and simplicity. He uses his overwhelming magical ability to instantly clean and repair the whole mansion. Everything is restored to a brand new state, after which he lays down in his room for a moment to take in the fact that everything within his scope of vision belongs to him. His thoughts are interrupted when Sylvia calls to tell him that they have arrived. He comes down to show his appreciation for her following him to his new house. The new head maid is honored that he asked her to come, even confessing that she cried. With the help of her team, she promises to work hard exclusively for him. His butler also introduces himself. He is there on the recommendation of Kane's family's longtime butler, reveals that he has heard all of the amazing feats his new master has performed, but the boy tries to downplay it. Sylvia orders her maids to start cleaning the place, but they quickly realize that the whole residence has been cleaned to a high level. Is surprised when Sylvia takes it normal that Kane already cleaned the mansion with magic. He wonders how he managed to do that. Sylvia then informs her master that they will finish packing his personal belongings into the new house. The butler reiterates the maid's sentiments and suggests that he makes his way back to his old home and reminds him that his older brothers are at the house. He rushes there to meet them, and they are impressed to see that their younger brother has been granted a peerage and a mansion before them. His sister is more excited to see his mansion, but the brothers try to scare her by pointing out that since the mansion is run down, it might have ghosts. It startles her a little, but she is confident that Kane will protect her. He just assures her that nothing scary will appear. Along with his sister, King's parents later come to visit their son's new house. They are surprised to see that it's not run down, but rather sparkling. His mother comments that it's like a brand new house. His father is a little confused because he is sure that it was dilapidated and falling apart. Then came a few years ago. Kane confesses that he did a little remodeling and cleaning using magic. The tour of the place continues, and they are blown away by the standard he managed to renovate it to. While going around, Gar noticed the lack of artwork around the house. Kane wasn't aware it needed some. His father explains that nobles are fond of artwork, and as such they decorate their mansions with them to express this love. Things like painting, Theseus armor, and in some cases mounted monsters are the norm. The mounted monsters is what catches Kane's attention. He soon tells his family that he has put one up. A sudden scream from Sylvia joes everyone. Garm suspects an enemy attack and rushes to the scene with his son. The servants point at the dragon statue that Kane erected on his father's recommendation. He forgot to tell them that he put it up. Even his father is shocked by the sight and wonders why he has such a thing. He confesses that he defeated it in battle garb, can't believe what he's hearing. He reveals that a red dragon is a calamity-class monster. He adds that it's doubtful if a party of rank adventurers can take down the creature. If so, it would be a very close battle and some members are not coming back. Live hearing this surprise, Kane, as it was so easy for him to defeat his father, just advises him to explain to his maids in the future. He closes the hype with the statement that a mounted red dragon is worth 1,000 platinum coin. Their conversation is interrupted by another scream. They rush over and it's his mother. She is startled by the sprayer he installed in the toilet. The dad is interested to see what the hype is all about. He uses it and they all love it, so he wants them to be installed in their home too. His dad feels like his guests will enjoy it, which confuses Kane. He enlightens his son that he must throw a party to debut his new mansion, as it's an unwritten rule among the nobles. Later that night, Kane sits in his study with Sylvia and he's a little stressed about throwing the party. But his butler comes in clutch and tells him that he has made a list of the people he's to invite and the things that he would need. Since he's a lower-ranked noble, he can't send an invite to the king, as that would be rude. As for hospitality, Sylvia suggests that he should present his unique form instead of trying to do it the traditional way. Over the coming days, he makes special glass cups never seen before in the world to be used by the guests. They will also double as gifts for the nobles to take home. They move to the food and drinks. Next, he gives his private chef a recipe to make Hamburg steak dish. Later, Sylvia is called to taste it and she can't believe how delicious the meal is. She chases it down with the sparkling happy juice and can't believe how much the fizz pairs with the meat. She has never seen a drink with these properties in her life. He explains that he used magic to make regular wine fizzy. Since he isn't yet age, he wants her to tell him if the bubbles are too strong. The maid uses this as an opportunity to indulge and drinks a few bottles under the guise of tasting to give feedback. Interrupts to inform his master that a messenger has come from the royal palace. He gets summoned by the king, who is flanked by Magna and Duke. Eric Kane is already intimidated that the heavy hitters are all in the room. The king gives him an intense glance before he begins to complain that he has not received an invitation to his mansion debut party. The Duke and Magna have been rubbing their invitation in his face, and he's not happy. You can tell that this one cut deep because he points out that he's the one that gave him the mansion. While waiting to him, Eric reminds the king that only high-ranking nobles can invite him to their mansions. The monarch gets teary-eyed as he continues that he can't. Father-in-law Kane calms him down and gives an apology and explanation before personally handing him over an invitation. This makes the king happy as he rubs it in the other two's faces. He heads back to his mansion to tell his staff that the king will be attending, which shocks them. They are a little confused till he reveals to them that the third princess, Celestia, and the duke's daughter are his fiancées. The maids scream in shock. He is counting on them to make his royal highness feel welcome. The night of the party has come and the nobles get addressed as they arrive at the mansion. They all seem to be impressed with the red dragon that came defeated. With everyone gathered, Kane gives his welcome speech, his gas cheer whilst taking a sip before commenting on how lovely it tastes. Even his father is taken aback by the beverage. Kane explains how he used water magic to chill it. Eric interjects to praise the food as well. Everyone's attention is taken when the king makes his entrance with the queen and Celestia. He orders them all to get back to their pleasant chats. He sits at his table and is immediately served with a drink. He is fascinated by the glass and poetically comments on its beauty. He then takes a sip of the content and is even more excited as the bubbles pop in his mouth. He's served with the Hamburg steak and impresses the taste palate of royalty. The king brings all the elements he likes and asks Celestia for her opinion, and she likes it too. The queen disturbs a little to point out the sprayer in the toilet. The king is interested to see what all the fuss is about. He uses it and loves it to the point where he orders Kane to install it in the palace. He is deeply moved by everything he has experienced since entering the house. The king gives him the highest praise, stating that he has the ultimate hospitality. Everyone is amazed that he has been given such a compliment, and they begins to clap for young Kane. Pulls his master to the side to inform him that Corgino has arrived. He makes his way to the entrance to welcome the high-ranking noble. Corgino thanks Kane for the invitation, but uses the chance to take a shot at his mansion, comparing it to a doghouse as he makes his way inside. Goes to warn him about the mounted monsters so that he doesn't get startled, but Kent stops his butler. They join him as he screams in fear. The host apologizes for not informing him. As he continues to insult Kane while walking into the hall, he begins to take shots at the attendees, and from their reaction, they too are not a fan of him. As he gets served his drink, he complains that it's too noisy. The high-ranked noble already starts to look down on the drink before tasting it. When he takes a little sip, he is surprised by how nice and unique it tastes, but he tries to downplay it. He is next served the food and loves it, but lies saying it's disgusting. He continues to behave rudely, pleads with his master to relax, since Corgino is a marquis to calm him down. Kane brings out some of the glass cups as an offering, but Corgino wants all of them, despite being told that the attendees are to take some home too. He also wants the recipe for the food, pronto, by the time he's ready to leave. Kane politely refuses, which only angers the marquis, who begins to reprimand him, but he stands firm till the king comes. The monarch catches Corgino behaving rudely. The king puts him in his place and warns him never to repeat such behavior, and tells him that he might have fallen out of favor with this display. All Corgino does is apologize and scurry off. Silk goes over to Kane, informing him that she knows he set it up so that the king can see Corgino for who he is. The monarch overhears them and pulls Kane to the side to let him know he's not a fan of his manipulation, which makes Duke and his daughter laugh. The king later calls into the palace where he berates him some more. That finishes the episode. Diam asks Kane to attend a knight's training session. Knight Captain and Elvish Viscountess Tijuana asks to duel him, but when Kane defeats her, she proposes marriage and drags a bewildered Kane to discuss it with Rex. Rex is furious as Tijuana is also the Elvish princess. Rex is forced to agree as long as Tijuana's father Duke Lyson agrees. Kane's growing power worries Rex, so Magna suggests they test him. Tijuana begins demanding duels every day, which also increases Kane's skills even further. Kane is summoned by Rex, Eric, Garm, Diam, and Magna and presented with a magician's grimoire, written by Yuya Esfort, first king and Rex's ancestor. Kane reads it easily, confirming Rex's suspicions as it is written in Yuya's unknown language, Japanese. Cain is forced to admit to being a reincarnation from Japan blessed by all 7 gods, but insists on keeping this secret from the public and maintaining his current lifestyle, which Rex accepts. Tijuana receives Lyson's permission to marry Cain. Rex feels confident Cain will make a fine future king of Esfort. Rex decides not to lecture Cain. He is instead lectured by Telestia and Silk on recklessly seducing every woman he meets. Things continue with the strange man informing Cain that Xenom and the rest of the other gods have already briefed him on the situation. Cain is shocked that he has met with the gods. The strange man reveals that he is Yuya, the first king, which further surprises Cain, but he tells Yuya that he has read his book on emperor-level magic. His excitement turns to worry and dread when he realizes that the book was written 300 years prior. So he suspects that he's talking to a ghost. He quickly checks under to see if Yuya has legs. The first king finds this amusing and asks him to use his appraisal skill to check. Cain does so and is taken aback to see Yuya is a god of creation. The first king reveals that they are in a different world he created called Fabneel as a god. He doesn't age, which explains his youthful appearance. With the introductions out of the way, Yuya shares the conversation to why Cain was brought into this world. He tells Cain that he was asked by the gods to train him. The guy is confused to hear this as he's already having a hard time because he's too strong. Yuya doesn't argue his point and just asks Cain to take the cookie from him. He dashes for it, and he's easily countered with a sword to his throat. The first king bluntly tells him that he still has a long way to go. Cain can see this, but he's still oblivious as to why he needs to be so strong. Yuya informs him that it's because he needs to fight the evil G known as Eren. 300 years earlier, he threw the world into turmoil by making people fight and in each other by using an oracle to sow distrust among the countries. Yuya and his companion managed to seal him back then, but recently the seal has started to loosen. If nothing is done, he will be resurrected and war will spread through the land once more. Yuya can't get involved this time because he's a god of a different world, which means Cain is the one who has to tackle this task. He teases him further by alerting him that some events in his previous life are also part of the story. Cain bounces up, eager to know, but Yuya grabs him and transports him to the ocean and hands him a sword. He informs Cain that he's officially his teacher now, and once he's able to complete the task, he will reveal more about how everything connects. The first king gives him a compass and tells him to keep moving in the direction it indicates, as it will lead him back to the mansion. This is an exercise that will raise his level. Yuya tells him that in his world Cain is around the lower middle level. He needs to be at least level 600 if he needs to stand a chance against Eren. Cain is a little stressed by this as he's currently at level 300. He's sure that it will take him some time and makes things even more difficult by banning him from using his moose skill. Cain is worried about his schooling, so Yuya informs him that 1 year in Fabneel is equal to 1 day in his world. He lets Cain know that it's only success or defeat that lies ahead. This motivates Cain as he dashes into the forest. He has a strong start by slaying a giant snake and some other creatures. Only 5 minutes have passed since he began his run. Back in the other world, Sylvia rushes to the door full of hope that Cain has returned. However, it is Princess Telestia and Miss Silk, along with their guards. The girls have a worried look on the faces. The maid apologizes for her display, explaining that she thought her master had arrived. The girls were hoping that he was home, but Sylvia tells her that he has not been seen since the previous day. The maid begins to panic as she speculates that he could have been caught up in some kind of incident as she lists them. Silk also starts to go into hysteria, but the princess calms them down and reminds them about who they're talking about. She confidently makes her way into the mansion to wait for her fiancé to arrive, and so does Silk. Back in Fabneel, things don't seem like they're going well for Cain as he gets apprehended by one of the monsters, but he manages to defeat it with one shot. The guy is so depleted that he just remains where the monster dropped him. He begins to doubt if he can ever get out of the forest. It is revealed that he has not had proper sleep in months as he has been consistently attacked. His thoughts are interrupted when he hears the cries of a creature. His instinct forces him to respond to the call as he drags his sword toward the sound. Cain arrives to see a young Fenrir injured and prepares to end it, but his instincts indicate he should rather protect it as he gets flashbacks of him helping people. He apologizes for scaring it and uses a healing spell to try and restore the creature, but he's unable to at first because his magic is so depleted. He forces just enough to heal the Fenrir before he collapses. All the while the creature protects him from all monsters that try to attack his unconscious body. Cain later regains consciousness to find the defeated monsters around him. He's moved by the gesture, and the two become companions as the Fenrir jumps on him. He names his Haku, and for the remainder of his journey, he fights and eats with his new partner, which changes his outlook and refocuses him on what is important. A significantly older Cain and Haku finally reach the mansion one day. Yuya can sense him outside and welcomes him as he opens the door. The first king immediately comments on how much the guy has grown. Cain is not surprised as he asks how many years have passed since he was left at the shore. His teacher informs him that it has been 4 long years. He notices the fender and tells Cain that it's a holy beast. The first king advises Cain to form contract with it, since it seems to trust him. Cain does so promptly, and to his surprise, the Fenrir appears. The first king further explains that he can call Haku anytime by using a command. He also warns him that his training isn't over as he introduces his next teacher to Dara the offenders, and Cain formally introduces himself. But before he leaves, he reminds Yuya that he promised to tell him more about Eren and how it all links to his previous life. The first king starts with the bombshell revelation that Eren used to be the god of amusement in Xenom's world, which means that there were originally 8 gods. This explains why there are no games or entertainment in King's world, because he's not there anymore. He created a death game that cost the lives of countless people. As a result, he was banished from the realm of the gods. If he were to return, the game will resume and everyone precious to Cain will be victims. The thought of that gets him agitated, so he pleads to his teacher for an answer on how he's going to stop Eren. He simply tells him to get stronger so that he can protect those he cares about. Yuya continues with the next part of his exposition, disclosing the link between him and Eren. He confesses that he failed to protect his friends when they fought against the evil G, and those comrades Cain parents in his previous life. This causes his heart to sink to the bottom of his stomach. After they were reincarnated into the fantasy world courtesy of Truckcoin, they were summoned to the god realm where Xenom tasked them to defeat Eren during the final battle. His mother lost her life trying to protect a comrade from Eren's attack. His father got enraged after seeing this and attacked the evil G with a powerful blow, which created an opportunity for Yacht to hit Eren with the seal-raising gain style. However, Cain's previous life father lost his life in the process. After that explanation, Cain follows Dara where it is outlined that Yuya is stronger than him and Eren is stronger than Yuya. He keeps this in mind as he activates his boost and rushes towards Dara. The guy dodges with the ease and knocks the living hell out of him and then carries him like a sack of potatoes. Shortly after King regains consciousness and is pounced on by a relief Haku, the two make their way down where he gets a warm welcome from Dara's wife Ruri. She's happy that he has recovered from his first beatdown. As he makes his way down the stairs, he notices a baby dragon below and rushes down towards it. Cain introduces himself and expresses his intention to befriend it. Haku gets a little jealous and interrupts, knocking his partner down during the process. Haku growls at the baby dragon while Cain tries to de-escalate the tension, but Ruri calms them down when she threatens to withhold the food. Cain quickly makes his way to the table, excited to dig in. He takes his first bite and begins to cry. Dara interprets it as the food is not to his liking. However, his student informs him that there are tears of joy because the food is delicious. Since he was in the forest for years, he hasn't eaten good food. Ruri is happy to hear he enjoys it and promises to make more meals since he will be living with him while he trains. All the while in his home world, Sylvia drills the two noble ladies as they have decided to learn cooking so that they can make something for Cain to eat when he returns. The maid berates them a little as they seem to be slacking off as they worry about their man. Back in Fabneel, Cain heads back out to train with Dara, and although he still gets overwhelmed, he withstands the attacks and doesn't lose consciousness. In the evenings he returns, exhausted and battered. The baby dragon is still not receptive to the newcomers. This continues for 1 year, and Cain has made progress. However, he still struggles during his exchanges with Dara. He equips his sword, and so does his master as they clash. Cain thinks about the revelation regarding his parents, which pushes him to surpass his limits. He finally lands a blow onto Rash, shattering his sword while sending him flying in the process. His teacher acknowledges his defeat as Cain holds him at blade point. He informs him that he has completed his training. Cain thanks him and rushes to his parents' graves. Yuya is there paying his respects. The first king lets him know that his mom and dad were always worrying about him and were consistently searching for a way back to their world so that they could reunite with their son. Hearing this causes Cain to fall to the ground as he thanks them for always caring. He also expresses his gratitude to you all for looking after his parents. The first king reaches into his pocket and presents the biscuit once again for Cain to take this time around. He collects it swiftly, showing the results of his training. Yuya acknowledges his strengths and Cain thanks his master for the training. He informed Yuya that he must head back to his world as it's in danger. He prepares to head back, but the first king reminds him that he has been in Fabniel for 5 years, so he turns him back to his younger form and allows him to take Haku with him. Dira makes it in time and asks him to take the dragon too. He forms a contract with it and names it Jean. As Cain heads back, Yuya gives him a katana to be given to the current king as a gift. He returns and opens his mansion door, apologizing to them for making them worry. Sylvia and the noble girls jet over and hug him, happy to see him back. They alert him that they had faith he would return. The girls present the cookies that they bake for his awaited arrival. Cain cries as he eats them, expressing how grateful he is. The story continues after Cain returns to give an update to the current king and his future father-in-law. He is surprised to learn that the kid was in the presence of the first king, so Cain informs him that Yuya never died, but had rather created a separate world where he resides as the god of creation. Cain then accesses his item box and removes the katana gift Yuya get to be presented to the current king. This takes the king and his advisors by surprise, since that weapon is said to have been used by the first king, and with this evidence alone they are left with no other choice but to believe Cain. Cain then begins to tell them about everything he got up to, and even informs them how he became his student and how he was forced to train day and night for 5 years. The fact that it has been 5 years amazes the king to the point where he becomes irate. Silk's father finds Cain amusing and informs him that while he was away, he received a notice from the Adventurers Guild to alert him that since he did not accept the quest needed for him to advance to rank A, they are going to revoke his registration. So he quickly rushes over to the guild to confirm as a notice he received is legit. The guild master confirms that what he received is true since he did not accept the quest. Cain's absence also had him worried. So the young noble apologizes and explains that the academy, along with other happenings, have taken most of his free days. The master goes into further detail as to why there is a risk to his registration being cancelled. It turns out that the time limit on his rank promotional quest is almost up, and if he does not accept it right away, he should prepare to be kicked out of the Adventure Guild. Cain promptly accepts and is told that his task is to subjugate a few bandits. He is handed a paper that he has more insight. The boy is to capture and bring in 10 criminals. Since Cain is the strongest in the capital, the guild master knows this will be a breeze for him. He gets to the task right away as he teleports to the woodlands and search for the troublemakers. He activates his fly ability and takes to the air. It does not take long for him to spot his targets, engaging in more criminal activities. Cain swoops down and is surprised to see that the people being attacked are his former tutors. Millie has an injured arm, so he quickly goes over to heal it. The bandits see that he is just a youngster, so they make fun of him, saying little kids like him should stay at home and suckle on breast milk rather than being out here trying to play hero. The gangs laugh as they charge towards Cain, who promises to take them down for hurting his former tutors. Cain goes easy on them and manages to defeat them all without a sweat. He ties the bandits up and goes to check to see if the people he saved are fine. After thanking him, they want to know what he is doing out in the woods when Cain informs him he is on the subjugation quest. They are shocked because these types of missions are only for those who are C rank or higher, and since he is only 12, they cannot believe he has climbed up the ladder that quickly. Cain doesn't even give them the chance to take it in as he shows them this golden ranked card, which just leaves them even more befalls. Cain gathers all the criminals in a cage and pulls them down the street as onlookers watch, appalled and disgusted by the bandits. He says his farewell before making his way back to the guild hall with his tutors and in the fools he captured as he presents the paperwork which confirms his completion of the quest. Both Nina and Millie are being disturbed by a bunch of desperate good-for-nothing adventurers. They try to ask the girls out, but when they're given the cold shoulder, their leader is persistent. So Cain walks over and tells them to stop their desperate behavior and go away. But when the guy tries to bark back, he pauses and recognizes Cain as the same kid who dealt with him a few years prior. So this puts the fear of God inside them as they fall back in submission, the aura emanating from the 12-year-old. They are only saved when Claude and his wife come in to investigate what is going on. Cain is happy to see him, so he runs over to greet them and explains why he was so mad at the group of adventurers. He tells Claude that they were bothering his friends, so when he asks who his friends are, he is shocked to see that Cain is referring to Nina and Millie. We come to learn that Claude and Millie are siblings, talked about a small world, so they question each other on how they know Cain. Claude is excited by this whole coincidence, so he explains for them to celebrate with drinks, but he receives a knock in the face from his wife, who complains that he always finds an excuse to indulge in happy juice. Nevertheless, the group find a table where they cheers to the freaking weekend. Cain enjoys his normal juice whilst the adults drink the happy juice. The discussion starts and Claude wants to know why the three of them are together. Millie explains that whilst they were on an escort mission, they were ambushed by bandits, but Cain came into their rescue and handed a low diff swooping. Claude doesn't really seem surprised, since he already someone knows what the young noble is capable of, but he is shocked when Nina reveals that Cain is in a rank already. But when he recalls the sparring match he had with Kid, he understands how Cain could have climbed up the ranks so quickly within days of registering with the guild. Millie cannot believe that her old student had the ability to keep up with her brothers, since Claude was able to rise to a rank using only his sword without any magic. Since the kid is so strong, they want to know how he got to that level, but he refuses to tell them that it was all because of the blessings from the gods. Millie reveals that he was even taking out SS rank monsters such as red dragons when he was just 10 years old. She also shows off the magic bag he made for them as a gift. This catches Claude's wise attention as she wants to know how much the bags can hold when she finds out that it is capable of housing a mansion. She adamantly pleads with Cain for him to make her one also. When he agrees due to pressure, she falls asleep on him because she doesn't know how to handle happy juice. Her husband informs them that she wouldn't remember any of what just happened. The next day, the kid prepares to leave after realizing that he has school tomorrow, but Claude does not understand why he would go to school despite having achieved so much. He also points out that this probably makes him not fit inside school very well. Cain agrees and tells him that although he feels like an outcast, he attends the academy only to learn about things he has no knowledge on. As he leaves, Claude realizes that he is having a tough time in school, so he ponders on what he can do to help out the kid. No sooner does he make that statement, does the receptionist enters and informs them that the instructor who was supposed to teach the adventuring class got injured, and therefore they're looking for a substitute. Claude has an idea and requests more information regarding this opening. The next day during magic class, Cain is excited to show off what he's learned with Yuya. But his excitement is killed off when the teacher alerts him that he is forbidden to use any form of attack magic on school grounds since his powers are too much for the barrier to handle, and as a result, the teacher has been told by the principal to credit him for the class without any demonstration. While all of this is happening, Claude and the rest hide behind a pillar and observe that Cain truly doesn't fit in with the rest of his classmates, so it is their duty to make sure they give him a helping hand later during his venture class. The teacher tells them that they would be having a special lesson because he has invited his insurers from the guild to join them. When the door opens, Cain is shocked to see that it is Claude and gang. The students are excited when they learn that the high-ranking adventurers will be leading the class. Claude starts by asking for a show of hands of how many are registered as an adventurers. When they all confirm, he asks them all to show their cards. This is step one of them trying to help Cain down, but the kid feels like if he just whips out his gold card, this will give the other students more of a reason to be put off by him. So he lies saying that he forgot to bring it in the group. Move on to step 2, which involves making Cain look like the hero of the class. By showcasing his strength against the high-level adventurers, they are positive that this is sure to make Cain finally fit in. Since Cain is not allowed to use magic, his only option is to spar with Claude. But unfortunate for him, there is a big line before his turn and he gets anxious that time might run out. It is finally time for him for battle, and as soon as they prepare to fight, the bell goes off, which signals the end of the class. Cain is disappointed and hopes that he would at least get another chance the next time they are invited, but the teacher notifies him that calling in special teachers are off the schedule for a while since their budget cannot cover it. After they had to spend a substantial amount of money to repair the barrier Cain damaged. Claude apologizes to the kid for getting the timing wrong, But the young noble doesn't take it well, so later that night he goes on a rampage in the forest of monsters to take out his frustration. One of the guards sees what's going on from afar and sounds an alert informing the capital that the Prince of Darkness has arrived, Cain's father, along with an army of soldiers killing horseback to go deal with the threat. All the while, Cain feels much better after that outburst, so he teleports back home. However, he left his handkerchief behind, which was found by his father inside a huge crater. Cain is later called in by the king, who was informed that the Prince of Darkness appeared in the forest, so he wanted to know if Cain received any warning from the gods, but when he denies receiving anything, one of his advisors informs to seek the help of other nations, since the arrival of the Prince of Darkness is a disaster. But Cain tells them that there is no need to do such a thing because he was the one responsible for the madness that happened in the forest. Elsewhere, in some case somewhere, a crystal falls which is collected by a goblin. The green dude is then consumed along with the glowing rock by a giant dragon. It talks about how the seal is weakening, and although it just ate one part of its body, this should be enough for his comeback. All the while, Cain is being scolded by his father for his antics again. Cain's class gathers on the practice field for a lesson on summoning magic. Before they start, their tutor calls Cain. The guy assumes that he will be told to study on his own again because he's just too overpowered. However, the teacher rather alerts him that he can participate in that day's activities since they're not using attack magic. He is happy to hear this and excitedly joins his classmates as their madam informs them that she has brought a specialist tutor them. Grat introduces himself as one of the palace mages. He gets right into the lesson, explaining that there are two types of summoning magic. One avenue is to establish a bond with the monster and form a contract with it. The other way is to summon one from a magic circle and establish a contract. Cain figures that his contract with Haku and Jean was a result of the first type. Grat informs them that they will be tested on their magic circle summoning during the lesson. The mage discloses that even if they manage to summon a monster but fail to form a contract for whatever reason, it will quickly disappear. He provides them with papers with magic circles that will aid them while summoning. The first 3 students step up and summon cute animals that rush to them to form a pact. The next guy sees this and gets excited to summon his creature. To his surprise, it is a fearsome beast that startles everyone. He demands the creature to form a bond with him, but it just smugly dismisses him before disappearing. Grat points out that the lad didn't have enough magic to make it submit. However, he comments that it is impressive that he was able to summon such a fierce beast and encourages him to keep training hard because one day he will be able to form that contract. This gives the boy confidence. Cain is called up next to summon. He places the piece of paper on the floor and pours as much of his magic into the circle as possible. He worries that he might summon a monster like he did when he was a lot younger. Grat assures him that if he can't form a pact with whatever he summons, it will leave, just like his classmates did. He continues hoping that he can summon something that can play with Haku and Jean as the light shines. Grat begins to panic at the power being emitted from the circle. Everyone is shocked to see a demon casually sitting. It introduces itself as the Prince of Darkness as it wonders why a human has summoned him. Cain realizes that he has gone overboard again and summons a flash spell that blinds everyone since the demon called himself the Prince of Darkness. Cain is worried that he might be on the same side as Aaron. The prince realizes that it was Cain that summoned him and checks his stats with his appraisal skill. This causes the demon to bow an apology for being so rude. After seeing Cain's stats, he submits himself, willing to serve him as his underling as he pleads for his life to be spared. Cain is taken aback by his submission. The Prince of Darkness offers to sign a contract with him and lets his potential master know that he can destroy a nation on command. Cain tells him that he doesn't need those services. The demon formally introduces himself as Seth. He can be summoned at any time when the pact is completed. Cain pleads for him to just address him by his name and not by the chosen one title. With the contract activated, Seth excuses himself. Grat asks his student if the guy he just summoned called himself the Prince of Darkness. Cain quickly cuts him off and notifies him that he couldn't form a contract with whatever he summoned, so he left right away. The mage takes it at face value as he brings an end to the lesson. Cain is happy thinking that he managed to cover the incident up, but shortly he is summoned by the king after Grat makes a report on what he witnessed. The king and his cronies stand before him as they demand to know exactly what happened. Cain immediately begins to spill the beans, informing them that he summoned the Prince of Darkness. This takes them all by surprise. The king knows of his shenanigans and wants to know what transpired. They go into frenzy when he confesses that he formed a contract with him. The king begins to admonish him for not showing restraint, as the prince could have easily destroyed the royal capital in a blink of an eye if he had gone on a rampage. Cain apologizes and explains that all he did was put his magic into the circle, but he kept pulling more out. The king speculates that his encounter with the first king might have increased Cain's magic. The king orders him to show them how his insane stats are looking now, but before he does so, the king orders Grat that what he's about to see must never be spoken outside the room, so he should consider it a state secret. Cain opens it into their surprise. He is now a demigod with measurable stats. The mage begins to bow to him, which makes him uncomfortable. The king worries that he might destroy the empire, but Cain assures him that it is not a possibility. He just wants them to treat him as they always have. This puts the king at ease. He confesses that with those stats, if Cain had asked for him to hand over the kingdom, they would have done it without question. He asked Grat if he now understands why. He told him that what he was about to see was a state secret. The king informs Cain that he will arrange an audience soon and make him a viscount. This means he will oversee his talent for him, govern how he sees fit. If he can manage it successfully, he will announce his engagement to the two princesses and Miss Silk. The town will be near the royal capital, to make things easier for him. The king believes that a man who cannot protect a single house or town can hope to save a nation. Cain can't reject the offer, so he just gracefully accepts it. He heads home and informs Sylvia of his recent promotion, and she's excited for her master. As she congratulates him, the maid decides to make a feast for them to enjoy in celebration. However, his butler interrupts to bring terrible news. Cain's father just received urgent word from his older son Jin regarding their hometown of Gracia. Signs of an onslaught have been observed in the forest of monsters. Cain quickly makes his way back to gather more information. He has an audience with his big brother, who explains that there has been a significant increase in adventurers being attacked by monsters in the forest over the past months. In response to this, high-ranking adventurers were sent to investigate, and they reported that the number of monsters roaming in the forest has grown and turned more hostile. This mirrors the incident that occurred a few decades ago when the monsters went savage and left the confines of the forest to attack the city. Based on the past onslaughts that have been recorded, the current state of the forest is similar to that time. Jin has contacted their father to send backup, but since they can't say for certain it's an onslaught, they are unable to mobilize fully. Cain offers to look around the forest. Jin are a little reluctant to let his brother take on such a task since he's his boss now. Cain shows him his ranked card. He also reminds Jin that he has already single-handedly defeated a red dragon in the past. This put his mind at ease. Cain decides to first head to the town's Adventures Guild to give more information on the situation. The receptionist, they look down on him because he's a kid till he presents his rank card. Rudy hears the commotion and apologizes for her subordinate behavior. She gives him an update on the state of the forest as injured adventurers lie all over the place. She believes that the signs are pointing to an upcoming onslaught. Their discussion is interrupted when Millie and Nina enter. He's surprised to see his former master around. The guild has asked them to come as they have put out a call to all high-ranking adventurers. They have already experienced the forest, so they inform him that the monsters inside are stronger and they move in groups. This is what stopped them from moving deeper. Nina informs Cain that her brother and his wife are also on their way to give support. He is happy to hear that Claude and Lena are coming, but he decides to go ahead and check out the forest for himself. Everyone expresses their worries given his status, but he assures them that he's strong enough. He makes his way to the forest and summons Haku and Jean. Both creatures pounce on him, excited to see him after so long, but they are still snobby to each other. He informs them of the mission and orders them to alert him if they sense anything strange. Cain uses his search skill, but he gets blocked and he can feel that something is watching him. They defeat the monsters as they proceed deeper into the forest, but Cain still feels uneasy, so he summons Seth to help him investigate the forest. As his search skill is not working, the Prince of Darkness can feel that something with an overwhelming presence is beyond where they stand. He also reports that many monsters are trying to reach this presence. There are many monsters in his homeland, but what is happening in this forest is abnormal since the creatures are high level too. Cain points out that it could be big trouble if they get to the city to get a better idea of what they are facing. Seth suggests that he summons one of his subordinates who specialize in investigations. The prince calls Dalmatia, who gets straight to work and unleashes his insects. This triggers ultra-high-level monsters to spring up from the woodwork. Cain and his familiars team up and expertly take them out. Dalmatia is impressed with the display of strength. He gathers the defeated creatures on his back and decides to return to the city while the other two carry on their probes. He arrives back at the guild hall to show them the monsters and inform them of what he has found so far. His former master is shocked as they have never seen creatures of this level before. They're either a rank or S rank. Claude and Lena barge in and are also surprised by the catch. Everyone agrees that if these levels of monsters reach the town, they will be in trouble. All the while, Seth and Dalmatia have reached a point where the presence is trying to intimidate them, warning them not to come closer. The prince takes it as a challenge, so they decide to proceed forward. It is revealed that the entity is Aaron. He can sense that the people approaching are not followers of Xenom. The demons arrive and are shocked to see the number of monsters that have gathered. Aaron senses this as the perfect opportunity, so he orders them to rampage and devour the humans. The guards at the city watchtowers see the huge cloud of dust being kicked up by the monster and sound the alarm. Seth has already returned to inform them of the onslaught that has started. Cain orders Rudy to tell his older brother and pleads with Claude and Lena to assemble the adventurers. He informs everyone that he will go ahead with his friends while the others join later. Seth is moved to hear that Cain sees him as a friend. Their moment is interrupted by Tijuana, one of Cain's fiancées. The farm has called them to help assist during the onslaught. Her unit is behind, but she rushed ahead so that she can see Cain. She wants to follow him into the forest, but he pleads for her to protect the city. Cain dashes with Seth back to the woodlands in defeating the first wave. As the monsters overflow from the forest, Cain is certain that it's the work of Aaron. The evil god watches, unhappy that Xenom's chosen follower has finally joined the fray. The episode opens with Seth alerting Cain that he will handle the monsters that are overflowing from the forest while he goes after Aaron. The noble worries, asking if he will be okay. The Prince of Darkness assures him that all will be well as he will summon his underlings to help deal with the numbers, but he does inform Cain that a percentage of the forest will be destroyed for them to be successful in the defense. Cain confirms and to go ahead with it, so long as it is only a small percentage. The two exchanged a smile before he goes ahead to face the evil god. All the while, Tijuana stands at the town's main gate, overseeing the safe harboring of its inhabitants. She makes the order that a single monster is not to get near the town. The rest of the party looks to Nina to use her search spell to sense the number of creatures approaching the settlement. She tells them that their numbers keep growing as they get closer and they're covering ground at a blistering pace. Millie springs into action, stating that she's heading straight to the forest to offer some resistance. She cautions the more reserved party that even though Cain is strong, they need to be ready. As the enemy's numbers keep growing, Claude comments on how reckless his little sister is, but he has no other option but to go with her, since what she's saying is right. He asks his partner Lena if she is okay with this move. She knocks him across the head with her staff, as it is obvious that she's willing to put her life on the line too. As the civilians rush into safety, they get out, ready to meet the monsters and stop their advance. Deep inside the forest, Seth summons his loyal underlings, the 4 heavenly kings, who appear instantly ready to serve their master, but they are surprised to see that they have all been summoned. They look down in shock as the streams of monsters continue to run from the mountain. Seth informs them that a friend has requested his help. They are stunned to hear this and wonder how great this friend must be to able to ask such a favor from the Prince of Darkness. Dalmatia descends behind them as he comments on how good it is to see the 4 kings. Their level of shock increases again when the legendary demon general informs them that he too is here, on request from Seth's friend. He also drops the bombshell that this individual has entered a contract with him. At this point, they just want to know who this person is. Dalmatia discloses that this person is Cain, a great demigod and the one who holds the title of God's chosen. The information overload almost knocks them out, so Seth assures them that he will update them later. He relays Cain's orders for them to protect the forest and town, and the 4 kings spring immediately into action as they join the Prince of Darkness and his assault. Simultaneously, Cain blasts his way through to face Aaron at breakneck speed. The number of monsters emerging is just staggering. He launches some high-level fire attacks hoping to lessen the monster count. He finally reaches his main target when a purple flame jets past him. Cain quickly shoots another fire spell to counter, which flies towards him. The two spells clash as they spectacularly cancel one another. Aaron reveals himself as a dark dragon. He commends Cain on getting to his location so quickly. The former god of amusement reveals that he's only partly revived, which is why he had to possess this dark dragon to manifest. He finds it infuriating and summons more monsters to show this staying true to his nature. Aaron sees this as a game to determine if all the humans will get devoured by the monsters or if they can put up a valiant defense. All the while the party arrived at the forest. They are surprised to see people floating in the air and they seem to be getting rid of the monsters. They concluded that they must be on their side. Nina points out that they may be friends of Cain, and knowing the guy they are certain that that is the case. The four kings begin to complain that there are too many, so Seth orders them to take out as many as possible. They will leave the ones that get away to the humans to deal with. Nina uses her search ability to alert the party that some are coming their way. The siblings spring into action and begin to engage them while the sorcerers prepare their spells back at the foot of the Meldon. Aaron points out that Cain's eyes are annoying as they have the same look as the people who sealed him all those years ago. He fires at Cain, who dodges. The power of the attack is on full display as it incinerates the fodder below. Aaron wastes no time and launches another one, but it follows Cain around as he tries to evade. He counters while on the back foot, which hits the evil god. However, it's ineffective as he emerges out of the fire, mouth open, ready to bite Cain, but he evades again. Aaron reminds him that he's not at his full strength, but the nobles shouldn't think that such magic would work on him. Cain prepares to launch another attack, and this time he intends to put more magic into it. The villain doesn't give him the chance to charge it as he attacks again. Back with the party, the sorcerers have gotten themselves in order as Nina fires a wind spell that cut the monsters. Lena does something with an ice blizzard attack. The team works well together to put up a solid resistance. They keep themselves motivated and know that when this is all over, they will celebrate with Cain. During that interval, Cain is getting pursued by Aaron, who bombards him with fire shots. He quickly turns and summons Haku and Jean, who come out ready. As they pounce on the dark dragon, they knock it to the floor. Aaron quickly recovers and retaliates, but the familiars are nimble. The dragon gets annoyed by their movements and swats Haku down with a swipe of his tail. He bounces off the cliff wall and lands on the floor, leaving it wide open for an attack. In the interim, the party is still putting up a good fight, but they are beginning to get tired. The monster's overwhelming number is starting to take a toll on them. Nina collapses because she's out of magic. The sibling picks up the slack, but they too find themselves on the back foot when a more powerful monster appears. They're saved when Tijuana appears with reinforcements. She thanks them for holding the monsters at bay while they arrived. The town defenses are now solid, which has allowed her to come to the front line. This gives the party a boost of confidence as they stand firmly ready for the next wave. Back to the main fight, Jean jumps in front of the dragon's attack as it heads for Haku. Cain rushes into blotchy assault, and with the determined goal to see smiles on everyone's faces, he activates his overload. This shocks Aaron, as it was the technique that played pivotal when he got sealed, as he counters with his most powerful attack. Cain overcomes him with his vast amounts of magic. It even causes a huge pillar of light. He continues his attack till his familiars hold his leg, giving him the cue to stop. Seth and Dalmatia rush to Cain's side to see what happened, but they comment on how awful things are. The whole area is destroyed for miles. Even a hole can be seen in the mountain in the far distance. They begin to slay Cain for taking things too far, as someone of his stature should be able to show restraint. He wonders where the black dragon is, but it has been incinerated. The demons also inform him that the onslaught has been stopped since the monsters fled back into the forest. The town is also safe. As the sun rises, everyone cheers that the nightmare is finally over. Cain rushes over to his friends, who are equally ecstatic to see him. The demons watch, impressed by how well they selected their chosen one. In the aftermath, Cain is summoned by the king, who confirms that the pillar of light they all saw was produced by him. The king alerts him that the residents in the capital mistakenly believed that the radiant at the pillar of light was the gods descending upon the land. Cain apologized, explaining that when fighting Aaron, intermediate magic wasn't strong enough, so he was forced to use emperor-level magic. Hearing this shocks him. He berates Cain for using outlandishly powerful magic. The king has told him repeatedly to practice self-restraint. He also wants to know who the people spotted casting magic spells in Midair were. They were dumbfounded when it was revealed that it was the Prince of Darkness he summoned to help. The king turns to Magna and complains that he's exhausted even though he said to marry the princess. The king wants to yield the throne to King already. They tell him that he can't do that, but he feels like he must reward Cain for his work. He decides to give him a domain to rule over. They hold an official ceremony where he's given the rank of Viscount and the domain of Dorenthal to go with that. He will be known as Cain von Silver Dorenthal. The noble is grateful and promises to continue to serve the kingdom and governance domain with elegance. Later, Tijuana is worried to hear that Cain was given Dorenthal to govern. She informs him that the Adventurers Guild in that place is very troublesome, because they like to act like they are the bosses. Countless nobles have been put in charge of that town and they have all fled. Cain prevents Princess Telestia from protesting to her father about her man's appointment. He informs her that he's rather excited about the challenge. It is a chance for him to build a new town where everyone can smile. His 3 fiancées are now also excited to assist him, but they all laugh as they plead with him not to overdo it. He heads to his town and gives him a Rank Adventures card as ID that stuns the guard. The guild tried to assault their new ruler under the pretense of a welcome party. Little did they know who they were facing. Cain lightheartedly unleashed one fire spell that heavily damaged the arena. Next, he headed to the local tavern to get a drink. Some of the adventurers were mistreating the staff, which annoyed Cain, so he decided to kick them out. Unfortunately, a guard was walking past and saw the newcomer as the aggressor and arrested him. This shocks the king. All the while, Cain has tea with Telestia and Silk as he tells them about his escapade at his new town. They are interrupted when the Dark Prince appears looking for Cain to help him. His wife found out about his infidelity and kicked him out of the castle. She follows shortly after and introduces herself. The girls are taken aback by her beauty and she apologizes for her husband's behavior. Everyone takes her side as they berate him for his actions. The guard continues his report, stating that Cain stormed into the church and complained that they're demanding too much in tithes. The guy also has guild walls and a castle that is even more impressive than the king's palace. His wife comments that he has taken things too far. He has altered, summoned by everyone and berated for his frantic again. All he can do is apologize. That brings the season to an end.